Hey, Don, how's it going?
Hi there. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Not dead yet.
Well, yeah, some things have been going okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I had a good couple days with the soybeans, so that helped
Okay.
alleviate what I gave back on not picking the top in the silver, but
That's okay. Yeah. I mean, I think everything right now kind of seems like it's making like a wave four or some sort of like very, very short term bottom. I think we saw that like right at the end there of the day.
well, the hourly chart on silver looks like it made a bottom, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah. I'm kind of
I mean,
thinking like it might have had a little bit higher, but and I can, I'll show you the chart here in a second, but might have had a little bit higher, but I think overall,
yeah.
might see like a B wave or something,
hmm
maybe around like 50, something like that.
Yeah, I did
Well,
not expect the rally to that we had in silver that soon. I thought we were going to get a pullback
yeah.
in in October, in the September into October, and instead it just took off. So I had written like a bunch of calls on my stocks, and I had to keep rolling them up and out,
Okay.
and then of course when we got to the top, I didn't have the protection. So
Oh, I
because
see.
yeah, I mean, like I started with when they were way that like
April.
was it CBE was like 12, and I wrote calls, and then it went to 23. Yes.
Yeah, it happens sometimes. Yeah,
So,
hopefully, you're able to ride the wave down since you're rolling out the calls. Since
well,
silver
yeah,
had a,
I most of them, a lot of them I've been
oh, sorry, I think I'm losing you there now.
uh, what was because I mean I have like stocks at 17, and I have 30 calls that are written.
Oh, okay.
So I mean they were like $1.50, and now they're 50 cents,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Okay.
So,
Well, yeah, I mean, sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't, but usually the rolling helps out a
yeah,
lot. Like if you roll it
I
up.
try to be, but when you try and be conservative, then you get that's when it runs on you.
Yep, yeah, that's exactly correct.
When you say, oh, I'm going to let it run, then it
Yeah.
has the correction.
Yeah, that's funny you say
But
that. It's like it happens to me all the time. It's like I think I'm the only person that can lose money in a bull market.
yeah, well, Alex keeps saying, like the people that are making the big money are the ones that don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
Yeah, like oh, it looks low. I think I'll buy in here.
yeah, they no protection, and no hedging. They're just full
Yeah,
bore
right.
long.
Full blast. Yeah, full blast log.
So, I mean, at some point, who knows when that is, but at some point, I
That's
mean,
right. At
I
some
keep
point, it's gonna turn on them. It's not gonna go well.
I keep taking a bath on these options that I wrote on the triple Qs that I keep
Yeah,
rolling, and I'm still waiting.
yeah, yeah. Well, the good news is I think we've got to be getting close here. So
You
what I
would
was gonna do,
think.
yeah, I know. So what I was gonna do here was kind of walk through like this bullish scenario, like kind of the end of it, and then kind of zoom out here and talk about what might be a good like pullback here. I'll start with Nasdaq, but then I'll also show the S&P.
I guess you saw the Amazon went crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
It's up like 30 points.
I think I was slacking here with Jake at the end of the day, and he's saying he's got some Amazon calls. Yeah, there it is.
Mm.
It's like if it holds, he's gonna have a great day. I actually took two triple Q calls, like one DTE. I don't typically do that, but I kind of thought like at the end of the day today, it was right on that trend line, so it was going to bounce. So let me kind of share like what I was thinking here. So overall, this is just a mock-up. Okay, so like that last little cluster that we had here, this kind of like this truncated wave four. Um, I mean, again, this is a very rare sort of setup, and I think this one got a lot of people. So what I do think that this is like our wave 2 low, since we did not have a lower low with this next wave. That's where I think there's a little bit of flexibility here. So let me draw this out. But this is just a model here. So let me kind of explain the thought process here. In my opinion, this is a pretty clear. This is a pretty clear, like like a 5 wave up sort of thing. So let's say, so assuming that this is 3. So we start here at the 1, and this is a larger, like a longer term wave 4. And what I'm thinking here is like, it's just a very extended wave 3. So to kind of set context here for the people who are watching this after after the call, I'm not going to draw like all the waves or everything like that, but I think this is kind of what we're seeing here is this much longer term. Let me change the just for visibility's sake. I think that this is a much larger sort of last sort of hurrah, I guess you could say. Like we had this huge this huge 3-wave, this ABC 3-wave down, but I think the reality is a lot of people were expecting like an irregular, right? So that's or at least like a flat, and you can kind of see right around here, that's where we had that consolidation. We didn't really make a new high, and then after that was busted. Then this is like the next Fib level up where we saw some good selling, and that's where it kind of stayed for a while, and it would have turned there had it and we did have a some strong days of selling, but I think on the way up here we had even stronger. So this last this Friday, this October 10th here, that's where we had some really good really good like news-based selling, something like that. And usually it's like the news tail wags the dog with that. You really don't get a lot of you really don't get a lot of like traction with trying to like pin the news on the prices or vice versa. It's like they just blame it for whatever they want it to sell. So this is my initial assessment here, but there's one possibility of counting incorrectly here. So this could be a larger wave 3. I don't really think that that's the case. I think that what we saw here, we saw kind of like a breach. Well, sorry, not a breach. We actually saw we saw the line hold here, so that technically means that. And by the way, you guys, like if you're ever looking at longer term charts and you see something like this, this is highly possible as like a bullish indicator, because you don't see it breaks the top of the last major wave. So it's almost like if I was writing a script, I'd say like in the last, if it hadn't breached the top of the latest high in the last like couple of weeks, then it's still bullish. And I know there's moving averages that track along this that I don't have in the chart, but this is what you really want to look for. Are these tests of the prior high, because that's supposed to be support. And after you see a really big sell to test that level, if you would have seen something like this, like where it kind of goes down a little bit, then it's corrective. But that's why I have some good confidence here that this is still impulsive. So what I mean by that is it's very likely that we did already see this wave 3 top, and that was at the what was that 25,200. Yeah, so I think I flagged that level like 2 weeks ago or something like that, just saying that like, well, that should technically be a wave 3 top because it's at the here. Let me show you what I was talking about here. So you got a question?
Just the fastest wave 4 in history. That's all.
Yeah, no kidding. I think it was a longer term.
If you blinked, you missed it.
Yeah, no kidding. What a ridiculous thing. And what else I've been noticing too is that like the law of alternation doesn't really hold with the waves 2 and 4 right now, just because everything's been so bullish. So for example, like usually with a wave 4, you'll see like this is a genuine wave 4 in this box here. This looks right to me. So like clean up some of this crap. Like this looks right to me, where it's a consolidation. You can also see it's like a triangle here too. So you'll see triangles at like wave fives, or sorry, wave fours, and also with like B waves. So that's why here, everybody else is getting fooled, because you could have had an irregular or expanded flat, however you want to call it. You could have seen something like this where it's just a really big, big tall B wave, and then it heads back down. And I think I was going over that a couple weeks ago too. But I got to hand it to Abe, because he was asking about the bullish scenario, and I'm like, okay, well, you go up here like this, and it ended up being the exact thing. So that was, so I sent him a Slack. I'm like, hey man, nice nice question / call. So anyways, I think what we're looking at here is this longer term wave 3 is at this 2.618, and that's a typical stopping point, or else it heads up to this like 4.236. And that's quite the distance to cover. Do I think it's impossible? No. Do I think that, I think a lot of people are going to be dumbfounded if that actually happens. But if something like crazy like that does happen, I think that then we're headed for some sort of meltdown. Right now, it's still salvageable for like a longer term wave 4, and then into like a wave 5, like 2000 or like 2026. Here, let me kind of model that out here for you guys. So what I think you could see is you could see some like big wave 4 type of thing that does something like this, where everybody's like, oh no, that can't happen. Well, it can if you have, or if you don't breach. Yeah, so kind of like here, you could have like a sort of like flat sort of thing, and this is not a logarithmic chart. Let me see if I can. Oh yeah, it is. Sorry. Yeah, I'll have to look at that. But basically, what you can do, or how you might be able to count this, is you could have one of these big sort of, wave 4, weird-looking things, and but even though that this does look impulsive, so I think that this might be it, like for the last like hurrah up into space, because we're almost at 7,000 for the S&P. And what I think is notable about that is that we have these, markets don't end on corrective waves; they end on impulsive waves. So, like, this is a pretty clear, sort of 5-wave up to me. And this also looks like it's a 5-wave up in a much larger sort of thing. So, like, you start at like the COVID low, and then you have this just massive bull run, and then you have the shortest another shortest wave 4 in all of history, and that's not incorrect. It's that's actually dead on. But you could also make the case here that let's say you get this like wave 4 pullback, you could head all the way back down to like 16 500, and you'd still be 40% higher than we were 2 years ago. So isn't that the crazy part? So you could see something like this, and if you measure it out, I mean, it's it's a little squishy, and that's where I think like wave theory kind of breaks down a little bit, just because like it's very speculative in nature, and you kind of have to go by feel a little bit. But volume, and also like the counts don't lie. So like 99.9% of all cases, you will see the different rules respected. So what I mean by that is, wave 3 can't be the shortest with equities, or just in general. Sometimes, like wave 5s will extend with commodities, but for the most part, like wave 3s are the ones that are the biggest. And you could still make the argument that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 to 5, and then pulling it back here, you might not make like a as low of a low as it did back in April, but you could still see something like this, let's say, for the first half of 2026. Or you could see just some sideways price action for 2 years, and then see another like slight higher before it just rolls over, for probably like 10 years. I mean, we've had a lot of excess we got to blow out of the system here. But suffice to say that I do think that we are ending this, or at least ending this very bullish cycle. I mean, you guys can start to see all the the writing on the walls, like the I think Alex mentioned today about like the credit blowups and stuff like that. I think that's actually, I mean, he's dead on with that. I did my master's thesis on the credit crisis of 2008 and 9 and everything, and like all the stuff that led up to that with the housing bubble and everything. And all the data you study, it's the same thing. It's it's just everybody's making money everywhere. They're not doing their due diligence, and they're not like they're not how do I say it? Like they're not they're not vetting their people that they're loaning to, that kind of thing. And all of a sudden, it's just like, oh wait, no, they took that money that they owed us and loaned it to somebody else, and so on and so forth. And that's kind of how that house of cards collapses. So, all right, but back to the matter at hand here, and this also doubles with the S&P as well. But I think that if this is correct here, where we have this extended like wave 5, and I think that if you look at the S&P, it actually kind of is a little bit more symmetrical. I'll look at that here in a sec, but basically this last little leg here, I think what we might see is some more slight consolidation, but this does kind of look like a wave 4 to me. But this also does look like a bull flag. So there is a trend line that is important to be aware of. So here we go. So today it didn't quite touch, but that's why I think you're going to see like a proper retest of this line before this wave 4 is actually done. So I think maybe what we might see tomorrow is a bit of a pullback. So something sort of like this. Here. Let me zoom in a bit. So this trend line is pretty important because they just broke it. They just broke through. They gapped up over it, like a bunch of animals, greedy animals. And I mean, these are not like mistakes. Like, I guess what I mean by that is like these price levels that we end the day at, they're targets. So pretty much, I think what you might see is like a bit more of a flag expansion. So you might see indexes punch a little higher tonight, but overall, what you might see is like a continuation, would just make like a slight lower low, and maybe you can see that's where you can get a pullback. So to kind of repeat, this low here looks like. Sorry, I'm gonna zoom on a little more. I clean up some of this junk. So I think we might be just a little shy here of what we could see. So 1 second, please. So like I always try to count the most obvious waves first, and then try to kind of make it fit after. And if it doesn't fit, then you go back and try something else. But I think what you might see here for the Nasdaq is you might see like one more like strong bounce and like a test of this trend line, where you could see something like this where it completes this sort of wave 3, and it kind of looks symmetrical, right? Like you've got this sort of two, like this M shape, and that's typically like your wave 1-2 setup, but it's like the secondary wave 1-2 setup where you get a lot more of like you see the high volume selling, like that's your test of the low for the wave 3, and then you get it just taking off, which we saw. And so I definitely feel like the price action we saw earlier this week has definitely been like a wave 3, and it looks like a wave 3. But now we're going through that wave 4. Now, if it's a wave 4 of 3, like I've modeled here, that's a different story. But if we are actually looking at this sort of like wave 4 here, how we can tell is so here, like we could probably see something like this instead. So this is like the secondary model. So this is more of the bearish sort of setup where version 1 is you get this another leap up in the space, and tomorrow's Friday, which we might see. But then if we end the week on that, then that means that the cycle is over, and then we would see like a wave 4 kind of develop as more selling happens, more profit taking, more gamesmanship, all that sort of fun stuff. But how we can typically tell is if it does not survive this back test. So this little gap here, That's your key to the next probably 3 weeks. If the price sells through this line, and this will be the same for the S&P. So you have the same sort of trend line that it broke through. And I'll show you that here in a second. But basically, if it sells through the line here, and then there's no dip that gets bought, and it sells down a little bit more, then you'll be able to see, or then we'll know that this is either a wave 4, like a longer term wave 4, like that started here, like in the middle of October, and then like another space launch here for a quick wave 5, and then I think you get like a much bigger rollover. But that's just because of the counts. So I think it's we're either at like the penultimate top or just below it. But I think that probably what you'll see here is you'll start to see a lot more selling accumulate, or like a lot more of this like heavier, these heavier bars on top, which indicates like, just a lot of, clustering around the top. So more distribution, that kind of thing. But yeah, but basically if it sells through the line here, then we'll know that it's now going to become corrective, and we've already had our high. But I just can't really, like, it's kind of hard to explain, guys. Like, you can.
The Nasdaq's up 275 right now.
275.
Yeah.
So you could see, you could make the case here that this is, like a impulsive wave 3 that's already been finished, and then this is your, other counts, but it's still valid. So basically what I was saying, it's just, it depends on how deep the cut is. If tomorrow we do see this, like a rejection, and then it goes on to test the low and then bounces like this, like a normal Friday probably would, with just the regular old check mark, then I think that we're probably ending the week here as the last bullish week. And at least those are my thoughts. I mean, the bulls just jam everything up no matter what, where they can, because once they got the momentum, they want to keep it going, because that's the only way you get higher prices. If you let it stall, then then sellers step in, and it's a lot more expensive to keep driving the market up higher. So that's what I'm looking at, is really this next kind of price action here. So I mean, it would be nice to see a little bit faster of a drop, and then like maybe a fast wave 5 up here, and then we know it would be probably done. But this would probably take like another week. So anyways, questions about that? Does that make sense from the logic perspective?
Well, who knows until,
Yeah, who knows?
I mean, tomorrow
That's
morning,
absolutely right.
I would assume we're going to gap higher because of the Amazon,
Yeah.
The question is whether it holds or not, because look, Google gapped higher, hit almost 300, and it wound up back down at 281 or something, 282. Yeah. So, maybe we'll see something like that.
Yeah. So let me show you like a potential setup scenario. So this I'd say is probably the higher probability. So because it's not quite up here at this 0.618 level, there's also a lot of trapped longs up here. So at minimum, I expect it to head probably like up here. Whether that takes all night or not, or if it just kind of does this thing and then does this in the morning and then drops, we don't know yet. But what we can do is we can measure it. So let me draw just 2 lines here. And if this is not helpful or sounds stupid, guys, let me know. I'm sure my wife is tired of hearing me talk. She's sitting right over there. Yeah, she's like, she does stuff on the phone too. So when I'm doing these calls, she's like, "You got to shut up, man." So, okay. So in wave theory, you could have, this to me looks like it's called like a zigzag. Like you could make the case that it's impulsive, but it's not really, because you kind of broke the rules here. So it does look like, I guess the proper notation would be something like this. Oops. Oh. Double zigzag, whatever you want to call it, but it's still on a small scale, and that's kind of what we saw today. But typically when you see these, you do see like stuff like this, where you can get like a pullback, let's say in the morning, but not very much, or maybe you get like this inverted head and shoulders kind of move. But it's still the same thing. So like you kind of don't really cover much ground, but you can still do some scalper calls or puts or whatever. At this point, I would probably wait for a buy setup, just because you don't really want to buy puts if it's not going nuclear at this time, just because it's been so bullish. But for right now, at least, like I wouldn't feel so bad about accumulating short positions, like if you've held off for this long, or if you've you cut your losses way back when you should have. I still think this is like a great shorting opportunity, but for like shares, not really like puts, just because you don't know how long it's going to take. And that's really my the key here is that like what we're doing is we're talking in like micro terms, like hours and days, or sorry, like hours and half days and things like that. I mean, it could still take another couple of weeks for this thing to top out and roll over. I mean, if you think about it, like, everybody's like, oh, Santa Rally. That's just because seasonality is on the side of, equities and stuff. But, I do think that if we're going to get some more bad news about, private equity and defaults and tariffs and temper tantrums online, stuff like that, then we'll see some more volatility. But I also think now that the market's high enough where, again, there hasn't been enough accumulation because it's been such a fast rally that I think that a lot of these guys are running out of the deep pools of shares that they have. So, sorry, hit my mic here, but I think that we could see something like this, and then you could see another dip like this that gets bought, but we just don't know yet. So overall, I'd say this sort of pattern here. It might be fast, just because, again, I think like people are getting a little impatient to, they've already unloaded shares. You see all this red on the screen. Like you've got like you can tell this is distribution just by the colors themselves. Like I know it sounds kind of stupid from like the unaided eye, or like if you don't have like any numbers to look at, but in my opinion, this looks like clear distribution. I mean, you've got tons of like red clumping. It's sell in the morning, let them buy it up all afternoon, sell in the morning, repeat. And that's what they did for 2 or 3 weeks. And they also did it back here. They also did it over here. They've been doing this since July and it's still been creeping higher and higher. But like there's still just a ton of sell volume up here. And I think that the big players really do know that, we're getting a little bit extended here, not a little bit, a lot bit extended. And now people are catching on to, hey, it's a bubble, and the liquidity is drying up a little bit from retails. So, I mean, who are the people that they want to unload the shares to? Bag holder retail. So, like, how to get more people, enticed into buying more, more expensive junk is you got to sell it down every once in a while. You got to convince them that it's a buyable dip. So that's why I kind of think that, this bull run's been a little ridiculous, but it's also been kind of fueled by, just conditions, right? Conditions on the ground, and that's just kind of how bubbles work. But yeah, so I mean, there's lots of people that I keep saying like, oh, it's never going to end, and it's like they'll eventually be proven wrong, and it'll be terrible. But for them, not for you guys, because you guys at least will be prepared, knowing that valuations are stretched, all this stuff and things. But that doesn't necessarily mean it can't go higher in the short term. I do think that we're already in a blow off top, and I think that applies for. If you look at something like this, kind of back it up. That's Don, that Michael Kramer thing I posted earlier today. That was a little eye-opening for me when he layered that over like the 1963 sort of path and the probability of that happening. And I was just like, wow, yeah, okay, cool. I should look at some more of the historical patterns and stuff. And AI can help you with that too now. But anyways, I still think that this is like, I mean, what is this now? 60% almost. Hold on, from peak to trough. What is this? It's outrageous, whatever it is. Yeah, peak to trough. Yeah, 61% from the April bottom. Isn't that ridiculous? Okay, so I don't bore you guys to tears with all that stuff. Just look at the S&P real quick. Yeah, I mean, it still kind of looks like the same thing. It's like the patterns are kind of mimicking the Nasdaq. So it's like either you see here, let's draw a quick trend line here. So you can kind of see that this trend line has been holding water here. So the Nasdaq broke through, but the S&P is not. So I mean, you still see a bunch of this buying, but my opinion, you've seen a lot stronger sells over the last couple days, and I think that that's a lot of people like taking profits from SPY or SPX, shares just in general. It's just a lot higher volume than you typically see. So, with that being said, any other questions about equities? I guess like the indexes. Okay.
I'm good.
All right. So let's look at the yield real quick. Let me change my layout. This is just easier to use the charts I use every day. Okay. So the yield real quick. So I mean, it's definitely shot up after after Powell was talking about December, with that not being on the table. But I do think you might see something kind of like this. It might just drift down for a little bit until maybe we can get data back online, and then you might start to see like a jump. It just depends because right now with the government closure, there's no like actual data and stuff. So I think Paul was talking about like, well, we have the ADP payroll data and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, how inconvenient. Anyways,
I can't see it making another low though, personally.
yeah,
I mean, you must have had some nice divergence on that last low from the previous one.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see it coming back and maybe getting to around where the previous low was, making like a reverse head and shoulders,
Yeah. There's also to consider this. There's also every time the yield hits this like 3.87 level, like 3.88, and you always get some sort of pretty strong reversal.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason for the yield to be under 4%.
Oh yeah, yeah, I totally agree.
And what were they saying? I saw on the TV they said we've had 2 rate cuts now, and the 10-year is exactly where it was before the 2 rate cuts.
Yeah, because the bond traders aren't stupid.
So what does that tell you?
Yeah, it's telling you they're betting against the forward part of the curve.
Right, the bond market is not buying.
That's right. Yeah. Or I think too, like I think that Percent and those guys are trying to like artificially keep the rates down for the short term. Because they got to refinance all that trillions of dollars worth of debt. Right.
Well, that's why they only want to buy T-bills. They're not selling anything long because that they get a better rate. So
right. So so that's kind of the just a snapshot of the yield here. I would honestly like if we get another pullback and it makes a lower low, I will add a lot more to my buys. But for now, 1 unit's fine. I'd like to see what happens with MSTR first and see if I can keep some of that capital freed up. Okay, so gold. This one, I think you will see I think you will see a larger pullback here. But I think it's just going to be to test the 50 DMA. So you might have like a quick stab, something like this. But I mean, we did have a ton of volume with this first rejection. And if I were to draw just another quick fib here, I think what you're seeing is like a wave 4 developing. But I kind of don't think. I don't know. Like this one, it's a tough call with this because metals. I mean, it's going to extend, but if it's already at almost topped here at this 4,400. I mean that's high, but it's not as high as it probably could go.
Well, they're talking 5 now.
Yeah, exactly. So kind of what I'm thinking is that we're seeing this like a wave 4 kind of low. I think maybe you might see, let's say, like a truncated wave 4, where you could see just another test here. And the longer it stays elevated, this average is going to be pulled up. So, by the time it gets up to here, once you finally do have that sort of test, then odds are you'll get a bounce right around there. So like this 38, 60 kind of level. This is where I will add some, I'll add some gold miners, like some nugget or something like that. Or just, maybe some GLD options or something like that. But basically, I think you're kind of you might see like a bit higher of a pull up. So you might see something kind of like this, and then you probably see another rollover like this, and then you'll see another rally. I'm just not sure it's all kind of dried up yet. What I'm really looking for is volume. Like I want to see a volume divergence, like the selling kind of deteriorate. So so we'll see what happens with that. But for now, go ahead.
The fundamental case for it pulling back more is the fact that the dollar is in an uptrend.
Yeah. Right.
And usually they go in opposite directions.
Yeah.
But not always. Not always.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see it. I could see a sideways, mostly sideways correction until the dollar's done, and the dollar going up kind of would mirror the yield going up.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So if those two go up, the metals will probably just go sideways to lower until that's done, and then they'll make another move.
Yeah, exactly. I think
next year they're going to go up next year, because once Powell's out, these other people that he brings in are going to jack the rates down, which is going to send the metals soaring, because there's no reason to jack the rates down.
Right. So I think what you're saying about like the sideways correction thing, we could probably see something like this, where we get this like a little bit more of a wave 4 style kind of thing, or maybe you just have a larger ABC sort of thing like this, and then you get like a wave 5 up to here, maybe a little bit higher. So that takes you to, well,
if it starts getting near 5, we're going to hit 5, because it's like the magnet.
Why not? Yeah.
It's there.
It's just like,
get there.
I know, it's just like the S&P 500. It's like, I mean, you think they're not going to hit 7,000? I mean, come on, they're so close. Yeah.
Well, and then when they get to 7, they're going to be talking 75. So
yeah, no kidding. Yeah. The greed, you guys, the greed. So silver, I think silver got close to the 50 here, but I'm kind of thinking that it's gonna continue to retrace here. So you'll probably see something like this, where you might get a little bit higher of a retrace before you get another dump down like this, because it really does. Now this looks impulsive. This how we're talking about like the overlapping waves. Well, this one looks impulsive. I mean, again, it's a little tough to forecast when you have these sort of cluster waves. But what you can see though is you can definitely see this divergence. So that's where I'm thinking that people are accumulating, and if there's a drop in silver again, I'd like to pick some up. So like some SLV calls or something like that. But this volume trend, this is what I'm looking for with gold as well. So if you see this. So if you start to see, some more buying, but like the volume just declines overall, then I think it's safe to say you're starting to see some support develop. But yeah, so that's what I'm thinking here for metals, and silver's going to follow the path of gold. I think gold's going to lead. Gold's probably the most inflated, but silver is not far behind.
The thing with silver is it's depleting. There's there's more being used than what they're mining. So
right.
So
there's
that. Could be a little squeeze.
Could be, yeah. But that's all right, because because you can definitely see it coming. So it's like, other people, they're focused on equities at the moment and stuff like that. But okay, so let's, because I am kind of running out of time. I want to make sure I can cover some stuff. So looking at oil's been just in this crazy downtrend for forever. And I think that's just part of the Russia, sanction situation. But now the American oil producers are taking a bath because they can't produce oil at a profit, below $62 a barrel. at least on average, right? Some can, some can't, but
Well, there's some signs though of, you know, things turning around.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I did really well just recently with Schlumberger and Halliburton, and I'm still holding rig, and
Oh, right, okay,
they all started to bounce. You
okay,
know, Halliburton went from like 21 to 27, and Schlumberger went from the low
yeah,
30s up to 36 or something. So you're starting to see some behind the scenes action.
that's good. Um, I mean, well, not for what I pay at the pump for my truck, but yeah,
Well,
yeah, is what it is. Yeah, I'm happy to pay that part if I can make all that back in options or something or ETFs. Okay, so I think we've got this much longer term. We've got this much longer term sort of downtrend. My charts got a little messed up with the contract. But anyways, I think this is a pretty clear flag. Like, yeah, we might make a lower low, but I don't think we'll do that quite yet. I think there has to be more consolidation first. Like the sellers are kind of out of gas, you know, no pun intended, but no, I know what the hell, pun intended. But you know, the sellers here, like you can just see this this declining volume all the way down, and then you see the pop, right? So I think I was talking about this a couple of days ago, like, you know, oil was really, you know, looking like it's been consolidating for quite some time, and it's about time for it to get off the floor. So I think we might see something like this, just one little small lower low. I really don't know if it's like a hedgeable sort of pullback, or like, you know, anything that's really going to be like super material. I mean, I got bigger fish to fry with my fried portfolio, so I'm not really worried so much about, you know, a couple point pullback in oil. I'm more worried about like, you know, like a continuation of blow off top for equities. But anyway, so this is kind of what I was thinking, is that, you know, oil might get around to like the 65, like the 65, 65 and a half bucks a barrel, because you know that moving average is going to be pulled back down. So sorry, the turquoise one is 200. So you got this 50 up here, which it just kind of bounced off of, but not too bad. Just more accumulation. And now I think, you know, as soon as we tag that, maybe it sits there for a little bit, like right down here, maybe it just sits there for a bit and then takes off. And then for gas, this one I like this chart.
Yeah, gas is looking very good.
Yeah, I was gonna do 2 units down here when it was testing this 50, but I'm like, I don't know, like I need to keep some capital available for, you know, for like a MSTR hedge kind of thing, or so. Anyways, I kind of missed the boat on that, but if we do get another little pullback to this, you know, to this point of control, then I'll be adding another unit for it.
Today's
So
action is very strong today.
very strong, very strong. Yeah, yeah. So, you know, I don't like to trade gas futures per se. Like it just moves too fast. It's too erratic. I have to watch it all day.
It's impossible.
It's impossible. Yeah, it is. Those who, like, I swear to God, man, these guys who are trading, you know, actual gas futures, like they have to be on some sort of like Zantac, or, you know, they got a whole pocket full of Tums or something. You know, like, you know, the acid reflux would be off the charts. I would never sleep, you know, that's for sure. But anyways, I think that this is a more than reasonable sort of jump here for gas, because, you know, gas had the worst September ever for gas, and that's really unheard of. But this wave count structure, like this is a super clear wave 5 structure. So I think that, you know, holding gas would be a long-term sort of trade. I think you can actually make a lot of money off it. It's just that, like, you know, I'm kind of scarred from the Boyle trade I had to hold for 9 months. So I don't want to be like, yeah, this is a great trade, because, you know, natural gas is not for everybody. It's a bit of a stressor, but you can make really good money on it. It's just a matter of, you know, how, like, what your risk tolerance is. So,
well, this can go from the 20s up to 100. So
yeah, no kidding.
you know,
Yeah,
it's a nice move.
that's a nice move. Yeah, that would pay for Christmas. Yeah, and then some. But yeah, so anyways, I'm looking for a pullback here, but I think that this is something I don't want to overweight with the portfolio with Boyle again. I just think it's about time. You know, we've gotten to the lowest of the lows here. We got to start accumulating some inventory. All we need is a super cold winter, and
That's all it takes.
all it takes. All right. Oh crap! I gotta speed up here.
The wind kicks up in Chicago. We're in good shape.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I remember some pretty bad winters in Wisconsin. Okay, so SOX is right around like the same sort of chart pattern that I think everything else is at, where it's like this is like a really small wave four, and I think that you have this this ultimate high around like this 316, 317 maybe. I know a lot of people are they like to trade SOX. I do like to trade SOX. I'm just kind of trapped with everything, of course, but yeah, I think you'll see something kind of like that. SOX has just been on a crazy run, like everything else. Well, I'll do Bitcoin last year. Nvidia, this was a bit of a surprise to have all this buying for no reason. I think that this was just to kind of juice the market, for that wave three we just saw. I think that this is sort of a foregone conclusion here that it hits 215, just because and when I typed it into ChatGPT yesterday, like how much GDP is this worth? I'm like, oh my god, like 17%. That's amazing. Like how do you achieve 17%? I mean, you're bigger than California. You're bigger than Germany. You're bigger than Russia. So, anyways, like they just make microchips, and they don't even have that. Like they have to buy AI companies, or not AI. Like they have to buy quantum companies because they haven't kept pace. So, anyways, they're going to have to fight to survive. I think in the next couple of years because things are evolving so rapidly. Either that or they're going to just get too big where they can't manage themselves effectively, or the CEO is going to retire or something. You know what I mean? Like there's always something that happens. Like look what happened to Apple. It took 10 years, but they haven't come out with like a hot new product that is a must-buy product. Nvidia's a little bit different. They have a different market, but that's still the same sort of concept. At least to me, it is. It's very easy for me to see that like you have these like perfect expectations for this company, and then something happens to shock the system. Like let's say D-Wave comes out with a new quantum processor or something that's like when they first came out with the 3D printer. It's like, oh, $500 3D printer, like sweet. And now you can do your own stuff. Like just revolutionized the industry. Where's HP? Where's their 3D printer? That kind of thing. So it just takes a surprise to the market for that. So if you had the wherewithal to choice words here, if you had the wherewithal to short Nvidia, 215 I think would be like an excellent short. All right, so let's look at Tesla. I think it's on its way back down. It's been kind of consolidating for a while. It's kind of a messy chart, sorry guys, but yeah, basically what's kind of going on here is I think that we're ready to see this sort of test at the 50 again, and then it should probably head a little bit lower because this channel line, it got rejected real bad up here, and now we're starting to see some volume that's been declining. Plus their earnings were just okay. I know they have a bunch of other businesses, but at some point you gotta break the uptrend.
Well,
So let's do Bitcoin, and then I'll finish up with MSTR. So Bitcoin is still following the same script. It's kind of got this triple top thing going on. And I think that we're still on the way down here to test this like 100,000 price level. I think that if it goes below and stays below for a couple of days, it's a very bearish indicator. And I think that, once or like if Bitcoin really takes a dive and it doesn't get bought up quickly, then I think you can kind of discern that equities are next. Crypto's the hot thing, and Bitcoin seems to be the bellwether. There's Ethereum and a couple of these other ones. But long story short, I think with MSTR you might see like a bump or something like that, but it might just be like a short-term sort of thing. So I think the market overall is the liquidity is kind of drying up a little bit. People have already bought in, and they don't really have any more money because they're busy buying food. Okay. Sorry,
if Bitcoin gets down under 100, that master is going to be in big trouble.
That's right. So
I mean,
go ahead.
They have all these preferreds that they have to pay interest on.
Yeah, that's right.
And where's it coming from? Where's it coming from?
Us, somehow, some way. It's the new fee that's going to be added at my diner, for tips or something. Okay, so So if we're looking at MSTR here, there is a bearish and also bullish scenario. Sorry, I got this one jerk in a white truck who always drives past my house. Have you ever seen the movie Funny Farm? The guy with the brown truck, the mailman, who's always drunk and driving and throwing the mail out the window. Like, that's the guy driving past my window every day. Anyways, well, it's a good movie if you haven't seen it. It's with Chevy Chase.
It's all right. I have a ice cream truck that comes up and pulls along the park out the back of my house and sits there for 10, 15 minutes playing Pop Goes the Weasel 4 times a day.
Stack my head on the
And it
desk.
comes right through my kitchen windows. And you can't do anything.
Does it come right
an hour every day.
I was gonna say, does it come right at like the the last 10 minutes of market close? Because that's when I get busy.
I think I got a reprieve today. It was raining, so.
Oh, okay, that's good. So to kind of wrap up here, because I do need to drop here. So I think what we might see is we might see this sort of this is, I'd say, the bearish scenario. Like we're kind of doing this tiny little back test, but it's after hours. Who knows? There is a lot of options gamma that's put gamma down below 250. So if we do break 250, I'll have to add a hedge again. But I did close my hedge pretty close to the bottom here, which was great. But we'll see if the bottom actually holds. So after hours, it looks like, hey, they actually had, who knows? This looks like it's kind of funny numbers a little bit, but you get a bunch of people that just see that, just seeing that it's been way oversold on the day. At least in the hourly, it looks like way oversold. So, I mean, it should see some sort of mounts. So, I mean, you could see it get up to maybe like this 297 point of control again. But we'll have to see if it tops out around there or not. But still, the short trade was still good, and I'm glad some people are being able to get out of their trapped SMST trades. That was a crappy couple months for that. So yeah, other than this scenario here, I think what you also might see is you might see MSTR jump a decent amount. Like you might see some sort of ABC move like this, and then you could potentially see another move down here to like 240, something kind of like that, like an ending diagonal. It just depends. So, but there are some long-term support levels around here, like this 266 level. I think is going to be a battleground for a bit of time, but I think at least you'll start to see some accumulation down here. You're starting to see some volume kind of dry up. So, okay. Any questions or comments or concerns? No complaints today.
No, I mean, I got out of that because I needed a loss, so I just took it.
Tax loss harvesting before you're done.
I had too many gains, so I should have stayed with it, but I would not want to be long that stock. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's for me, it's just a speculator stock.
I mean, if I was hedging, my problem with the hedging is it ties up a lot of capital because you got money on both, So, but I would go with BITX, which is the 2 times Bitcoin, if you were to cover to your long side, because I think this company's garbage. I mean,
yeah, it is. I just like it because it's got the 3x leverage ETFs.
I mean, I think it's going to underperform Bitcoin itself. So I would rather be long Bitcoin and short this thing as much as I could be short it.
You got it. Okay, I do need to roll out of here, guys. But Roll, any questions you got? You've been quiet today. All right. Well, just if you guys have any questions, let me know. Send me a DM or something like that, or post it in discussion. Happy to chat.
We shall see.
Thanks,
we shall see what we shall see.
Yeah, we shall see. I agree. Yes.